Have you ever wondered what mystery and myth does Africa have? Here are 10 shocking wonders in East Africa history. Highlands of Ethiopia. The 1500s were an age of fire and blood. The Christian kingdom of Abyssinia was under siege by the Muslim leader Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Ghazi, known as Gragn, the left-handed. His armies swept across the land, burning monasteries, toppling ancient churches, and slaughtering thousands. Entire villages prayed for a miracle. It was in this chaos that a monk named Abba Samuel of Waldeba became a legend. His monastery, deep in the mountains, was surrounded by Gragn's troops. The soldiers carried torches, ready to set fire to the holy sanctuary. The monks inside braced themselves for death. But Samuel walked out calmly, staff in hand, and raised his arms toward the heavens. Witnesses swear that the sky changed instantly. Clouds gathered as if pulled by invisible hands. The wind howled. Then lightning ripped through the air. Rain crashed down in sheets so heavy that soldiers dropped their torches, blinded by the storm. Horses reared, sinking into mud that swallowed them whole. Chronicles claim that the very earth trembled, and rivers nearby reversed their flow. The invaders fled in terror, shouting that the monk had chained the skies. Samuel's monastery stood untouched. Later, stories spread of him multiplying food during famine and healing the sick with a single prayer. To this day, Ethiopians remember him as the monk who commanded the storm, a living wonder whose faith turned the tide of war. 2. The vanishing lake of the Queen of Sheba, Ethiopia. Long before European empires set their eyes on Africa, Ethiopia was home to legends older than Rome itself. Among them is the story of the Queen of Sheba, the mysterious ruler who journeyed to meet King Solomon. In Aksum, her kingdom was blessed with a vast shimmering lake. But according to local lore, Sheba grew troubled. Though the lake was beautiful, it brought sickness to her people. Crops withered, and insects bred in the stagnant waters. Desperate, the queen fell to her knees and prayed, "O God of Solomon, bless my land, for my people thirst not for water, but for life." That night the earth shook. Villagers woke to a sound like thunder beneath their feet. By morning, the lake was gone. Where once water stretched for miles, fertile black soil remained. Farmers found their crops flourishing, as if heaven itself had tilled the ground. The Chronicles of Aksum say this miracle transformed the kingdom. Aksum grew into a center of power, trade, and faith, remembered as one of the great civilizations of antiquity. Even today, Ethiopians point to dry valleys near Aksum and whisper, "Here the Queen's Lake vanished overnight." Whether miracle, earthquake, or something beyond human understanding, the disappearance of Sheba's lake remains one of Africa's most shocking wonders. 3. The talking drum of Buganda, Uganda. In the lush hills of Uganda, the kingdom of Buganda rose to power centuries ago, ruled by the Kabakas, kings whose authority was absolute. But their most sacred possession was not gold or ivory. It was a drum. The drum's name was Mujaguzo. Unlike ordinary drums used in ceremonies or dances, Mujaguzo was said to carry the voice of the ancestors. It was struck only for matters of life and death, coronations, wars, and funerals. Yet what made Mujaguzo terrifying was its mysterious power to beat on its own. The people of Uganda tell of nights when the air was still, and suddenly Mujaguzo's deep voice echoed across the capital. Hours later, news would arrive that the Kabaka had died, exactly as the drum had foretold. No messenger, no spy, only the drum. When the Kabaka Mwanga died in the 19th century, missionaries and colonial officials recorded their astonishment. Mujaguzo thundered before the palace announced his death. They could not explain it. To the Baganda, it was simple. The ancestors were speaking. Even today, the royal drum is never buried with the Kabaka. Instead, it is passed down, linking the living king with the spirits of the dead. The drum of Uganda is more than an object. It is a living witness, a heartbeat of a kingdom that defies time itself. 4. The day the sun stood still, the Battle of Adwa, Ethiopia, 1896. The year was 1896. A storm of empire swept across Africa as European nations carved up the continent. But in Ethiopia, the Italians met resistance unlike anything they expected. Emperor Menelik II rallied warriors from every corner of his empire, and at Adwa, the fate of Africa turned. Witnesses on both sides reported something astonishing. The battle raged for hours, yet the sun seemed frozen in the sky. Italian soldiers swore it would not set, even as exhaustion overcame them. Meanwhile, a thick fog wrapped around their camp, blinding their advance. Ethiopians, guided by priests carrying crosses and chanting hymns, struck with supernatural accuracy. Some chronicles say Menelik's priests had prayed for time itself to pause, that Ethiopia might stand free. Whether miracle or illusion of battle, what happened next was undeniable. The Italians were crushed. Ethiopia became the only African nation to remain uncolonized during the scramble for Africa. To this day, Ethiopians believe the victory at Adwa was not only military, it was divine. For in that battle, even the sun itself seemed to fight on their side. 5. The curse of Menelik's spear, Ethiopia. Emperor Menelik II was no ordinary ruler. Known as the Lion of Judah, he defeated Italy at Adwa, modernized Ethiopia, and became a symbol of African resistance. But beyond politics, legends swirl around his weapon, a spear said to carry the blessing of King Solomon himself. Chronicles claim the spear glowed faintly at night, humming like a living thing. In battle, when Menelik struck the earth with it, enemies' horses collapsed, and soldiers scattered in terror. His victories seemed less like strategy and more like prophecy. But the spear was dangerous even to allies. After Menelik's death, courtiers tried to seize it. One by one, those who touched it without permission fell sick or died mysteriously. Fearing its power, the royal family locked it away, deep within Ethiopia's mountains. Even now, whispers say it lies hidden, cursed to destroy the unworthy. The spear of Menelik is not just a weapon. It is a relic of wonder, a reminder that in East Africa, history and myth often bleed into one. 6. The floating island of Lake Victoria, Tanzania/Uganda. Lake Victoria, the world's largest tropical lake, has long been a place of mystery. Among its fishermen, one legend is repeated with awe, the story of the floating island. For centuries, villagers told of an island that seemed to drift across the lake. By day it was here, by night it had vanished, reappearing miles away. Many dismissed it as folklore, until explorers and missionaries witnessed it themselves in the 19th century. The island was no ordinary land. It was a massive raft of papyrus, so thick that trees, bushes, and even antelope lived upon it. Driven by winds and currents, it appeared to move of its own will, a ghostly ship wandering the waters. Local fishermen treated it with fear. They said spirits lived upon it, ancestors who sailed silently under the moonlight. Anyone who tried to step upon the island risked disappearing forever. To this day, floating papyrus islands still appear on Lake Victoria, but the legend endures, a reminder that nature itself can be as wondrous and terrifying as any myth. 7. The fireproof king of Rwanda, Ruganzu Ndoli, 16th century. In the 1500s, Rwanda was ruled by a king unlike any other, Ruganzu Ndoli, remembered as the immortal king. His reign was filled with wonders, but none so shocking as the day he defied fire itself. Rebels once captured Ruganzu and sought to burn him alive. They tied him to a stake and set flames around him. But as the fire roared, something impossible happened. The flames curved away, circling him like a protective wall. Witnesses gasped as Ruganzu stood untouched, his robes unburned, his skin glowing in the light. From that day, his reputation became unstoppable. Enemies surrendered at the sound of his name, convinced he was not mortal but a spirit in human form. Oral tradition claims Ruganzu could speak with the dead, summon visions of the future, and even walk unharmed through spears. Though centuries have passed, Rwandans still tell his stories, blending history and myth. Ruganzu Ndoli remains the king who fire itself could not consume. 8. The miracle of Lalibela, Ethiopia, 12th century. Deep in the highlands of northern Ethiopia lies Lalibela, a city unlike any on earth. In the 12th century, King Lalibela dreamed of creating a new Jerusalem for his people. But what he built defied imagination. He ordered the carving of 11 stone churches, each hewn from solid rock, descending into the earth like a hidden cathedral. Walls, windows, and pillars emerged from a single piece of stone, as if the earth itself had been sculpted by divine hands. The legend says Lalibela did not work alone. During the day, men carved the stone, but at night, angels descended, continuing the work until dawn. In just 24 years, a miracle of architecture stood complete, something that should have taken centuries. Even today, engineers puzzle over the feat. How did medieval tools cut such precision into bedrock? How did they carve entire cathedrals downward without collapse? Lalibela's churches remain not just monuments, but mysteries, whispers of a wonder born from both faith and miracle. 9. The Sacred Snake of Kilwa Kisiwani, Tanzania. On the Swahili coast of Tanzania lies Kilwa Kisiwani, once one of the richest city-states of Africa. Its mosques and palaces dazzle travelers, its gold traded as far as China. But beneath its wealth lay a legend, the Sacred Snake of Kilwa. According to local lore, the city was founded with the blessing of a giant sea serpent. In return for sacrifices and respect, the serpent guarded Kilwa from enemies. Sailors swore that when treacherous fleets approached, the waters around Kilwa roared and shook. Ships splintered as if struck by invisible waves. Survivors whispered that they had glimpsed scales beneath the sea. Even the Portuguese who invaded in the 1500s recorded strange tales of storms and shipwrecks near Kilwa, as though the ocean itself rebelled against their presence. Though centuries have passed and the serpent has faded into myth, the ruins of Kilwa remain, haunted by stories of a guardian from the deep, a reminder that Africa's coast once bowed to a power both natural and supernatural. 10. The drum that summoned rain, Karagwe, Tanzania. In the ancient kingdom of Karagwe, west of Lake Victoria, there was a drum unlike any other. Its name was Kaijanja, and it was said to command the skies. Whenever drought struck, the king would beat the drum in a solemn rhythm. Almost without fail, clouds would gather, and rain would fall, feeding the crops and saving the people. For generations, Kaijanja was regarded not as an instrument, but as a sacred covenant between the kingdom and the heavens. When German colonizers arrived in the 19th century, they scoffed at the stories. Missionaries confiscated Kaijanja, declaring it a mere idol. But villagers noticed something chilling. The rains no longer came as before. Famine spread, and the kingdom's fortunes declined. To this day, elders in Karagwe say the land still waits for its drum, stolen by foreigners who never understood its power. Kaijanja remains one of Africa's great lost wonders, a voice of the sky silenced, leaving behind only memory. Sparkles these are the 10 shocking wonders of East Africa, stories where history and myth intertwine, where miracles shaped kingdoms, and where legends still live in the voices of the people.